Hey everybody, this is Claire, and this is Small Joyful Things. As always, I go to thrift stores or estate sales, or sometimes I try to buy things from Craigslist, and I'm always looking for things that I find interesting or that I think you guys might like to see. And then I bring them home, trying to find out as much as I can about them, and then tell you guys about them. So here's what I have today. I have this very beautiful glass bowl. It shows up, I think, being a little bit blue on camera or teal, but trust me, this is actually quite an interesting lime green. My color correction, I'm afraid, for the camera is not the best. Yeah, I'll try and get some better photographs of it to put it up on my website. It's very, very pretty, and you can see it is perfect condition as well. If you turn it over, you can see that the pontil has been ground out. The actual base itself is very smooth and it's incredibly well made. Obviously hand blown. Now, if you actually look in the inside of it, it may be a little hard to see here. There are some minor manufacturing defects. There's a little bubble there. There's another little bubble here. There's a couple of dark spots you can see there as well. But otherwise, the actual the color, the glass and everything is incredibly pretty. You can see it's just a little bit translucent. It is incredibly fine glass. I bought this in a thrift store for about $6. So let's measure it up. It is about just shy of about 4¼ inches tall, and with the little bulge, about 8½ inches across. It is a very, very nice bowl. Now, obviously I got it because I thought it was interesting and I wanted to show it to you guys. And collectors of glass, or if you're aware, if you know this kind of glass, would know that it's a Tango glass bowl. This was a style that was incredibly popular. It was seen a lot made by Czech glassmakers in the early 20th century. This one definitely threw me for a while. I was kind of avoiding doing a video about it, or I was avoiding doing videos in general because I thought I had nothing interesting, but definitely avoiding doing a video on this particular bowl because I wasn't sure I could identify it. Now, at this point, I am quite sure that it is from the early 20th century. It's going to be after the First World War up to the end of the up to the start of the Second World War. So in that space between in the 1910s up to 1938ish. It does have a moss ring around the edge here, which is kind of hard to see on camera. You're just going to have to trust me that it is there and it's incredibly even. The bowl itself has almost no wear on it. There's no marks. There's barely any. There's a little, like a scratch or two there. The bowl itself, though, is completely intact. No chips, nothing. Hopefully you can see why I would have wanted it. It's just I think this is probably I think it is the second piece of Tango glass that I have seen in a thrift store that I've been able to buy. The first piece that I saw was actually a very, very beautiful orange acrylic Tango glass vase, and it was actually cracked right down the back, and that is why I decided not to get it. And I have to say, you know, I had the anonymous assistant with me at that time, and she can confirm I absolutely cried. Now, so what do we think about this? What's our ideas about this? Now, the most interesting thing is that if we just go over to YouTube, we get this, okay? Now you can see, obviously this is incredibly similar. The color is very similar, and apart from the rim, this is black obviously and that is orange. These are the same form, okay? You can see here that like they're very, very similar. Apart from the color, that's quite the same. And it's not loading up very well. This is just a little bit smaller, as far as I can see, measuring the base. Blah, blah. The interesting thing though is this. This has a mark on the base. And I'll try and get it on camera to show you guys. There you go. And it says Czechoslovakia and that is an acid etched stamp. And there goes my there goes my color balance just doing whatever it wants to. Hopefully you can see how green that is. I'm sure if I put it over there, yeah, there you go, it changes again, of course. Anyway, so that basically confirms to me I have a bowl with the same shape. There's only one difference in color, which is, you know, which is not really relevant, and is definitely from the right era, and it has the right stamp on it to be from that era. Now, this one obviously has a stamp. This does not. Not all Czech glass from the period would have had a stamp. I think some of them would just have labels. But anyway, let's go over to Chrome. And now, I did actually take a quick look about whether this could actually be attributed to Kralik. Kralik are really interesting. They were one of the more famous Czech glassmakers in the early 20th century. The stuff that they did was absolutely phenomenal. I have it here. I don't. I'll put a link down. I'll put a link down in the description to one of the major sites for actually doing like identification of Kralik glass. I highly recommend that you go and take a look at it. Here's the first link: 20th century glasses. If it's going to load up for us, here we go. Yeah. So you can see some of the examples of the work that they did. They certainly did Tango glass, and they did. There's these two examples here, which are fairly well known as being Kralik. The one that I saw didn't look like that. It looked a little bit closer to this form. It had a wide base and then a fluted top. And it was, I have to say, very, very pretty. And I absolutely cried when I found out that it was damaged. But yeah, we have no reference here. And I've definitely looked. Can I find any example of a Kralik bowl in this form with these colours? I have not. I've also looked at Lowitz. Lowitz is another one. It's another one of the big Czech glassmakers. If I can take a quick look at their stuff. Lowitz are actually far more well known. No, here we go. Lowitz are very well known for having iridescent glass. They were essentially one of the like, I don't know what you call it, like the competitors to Tiffany at the time. Like Lowitz did like very kind of organic kind of stuff. And this isn't loading up, of course. Anyway, I'll stick a link again. I'll stick a link down in the description if you want to read up about Lowitz glass. Highly recommend it. Some of their stuff is truly, truly beautiful. At a recent trade fair that I went to, I actually had the opportunity to buy some authentic Lowitz, and it was quite a large vase as well. And the only reason I didn't buy it is because I didn't have $400 to spend on a Lowitz vase. Now, we go over here. Now, here is some really good information. Definitely recommend reading this in general because realorepro.com have a lot of good information anyway. You should definitely pay attention to this website. You know, they have a lot of just general info. It's not just like about determining whether something is real or not. Now, new and old marks on on glass from Eastern Europe, and they go into a little bit about essentially the different manufacturers that can be identified, and they do include like Kralik and Lowitz and that. But one thing I'm interested in is this chunk here. The nation of Czechoslovakia did not exist until the end of World War I. Yes, obviously. The country was formed in 1918. From 1918 to 1938, many of the pieces of glass were marked Czechoslovakia. This mark is used by collectors to date Czech glass made between the world wars. Most glass marked Czechoslovakia only can rarely be traced to a specific company. And yes, there are exceptions for Lowitz and Kralik, but not this one because I cannot find a form from Kralik that matches this bowl. So skipping past a lot of this, again, I'll leave the link below in the description. Do read it if you can. And we get down to here, okay? Now, brightly coloured glass in Art Deco shapes made in Czechoslovakia between 1918 and 1938 was exported throughout the world. The examples shown above were offered in the 1930 Butler Bros catalogue in the United States. Now that I find interesting because if we actually look at, it's not going to imprint. If we look at this photo, or, you know, come on iPad. My iPad doesn't like me. So if we look at this particular image, okay, an image of a catalogue, and this is 1930, this bowl here, that form is the interesting one. It's the one that I'm looking at and finding interesting because you can see that that form, obviously this is in cased glass, hand-blown glass, but that side profile is identical to this. And this is not to say that this could, like, that this is exactly, you know, this is exactly the same or whatever. Oh, you know, maybe the same manufacturer. I'm pretty sure that, you know, different manufacturers kind of borrowed from each other or whatever. What it helps determine in my mind is that I'm definitely in the right era for this. The 1920s, 1930s is when this was made. Everything suggests that that is the case, you know. Even though for Tango glass is not really known in this color specifically, there's a lot of bright oranges, bright yellows. This pale lime green, jade green, whatever you want to call it, is a little bit more unusual, I think. But it's definitely in that, you know, in that kind of time period. Now, do a read of this as well. They have a lot of pictures of authentic marks, which I think is incredibly valuable just to have a visual reference for that. So if you do find something that is purports to be Lowett's or Kralik or, you know, something quite valuable, you should definitely be referencing something like this to make sure you're not getting ripped off. Now, with all that said, what is this actually worth? And I'm not actually sure again. Let's go back to eBay. Let's see what we got. We obviously have someone selling the exact same bowl here for $120 US. Okay. But let's say Czech Tango. I can spell Tango. Tango glass. Let's see what we have. Yes, of course. You see this bright, beautiful, bright oranges, you know, really bright blues and everything. You can see another one here, 100 and being offered for 102. Tango glass with the triple legs, 53. This fluted form here, that's... Now, it says it's low. It's not sure if I believe that. Hopefully it's actually marked or whatever. The one that I saw had no mark, but it looked a lot like this one. Now, let's filter it real fast. What have we got for sold items? And look at that. You see that the actual sold items are full of all this orange glass. Orange and yellow. Bright, bright, bright colours. One here in a very nice pale, like pale blue. And you can see that there's a lot going on here. You know, the like Tango glass, I think, is popular. The style itself is incredibly popular. Now, we don't have much by the way of bowls, unfortunately, but lots of popularity. We just don't have any green examples. I'm not sure if there are any even up for sale right now. And price, depending on who did it, Kralik, Lowett's, whoever, even from an unknown maker, you're talking like, you know, $60, $70 Canadian anyway. So about 50 US. Absolutely worthwhile. So if you see this in a thrift store, definitely do grab it. I say I'll probably be putting this up on Etsy very soon. And I'm pretty confident saying, yep, early 20th century Tango, Czech Tango glass in wonderful condition. And I'm sure someone's really going to love it. So there we go. This is my small joy for the day. I hope you guys like it as well. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.